What are your thoughts on us taking the gender off for babies' birth certificates?
I feel like it does make a lot of sense to do that, and that gender doesn't really do much. Like, it doesn't really matter.
If my child wants to grow up being a female, and with me, believe it or not, I take off my hat, I look like a male. I don't think of myself as a female. I think of myself as a pansexual. I am a male trapped in a female's body. And honestly, if my child doesn't have to have the gender on his birth certificate, that'd be fucking awesome.
Honestly, I'd go for it, because the fact that if they want to grow up as a male, then that's fine. If they want to grow up as a female, that's even better.
If he wants to become a girl later on, I'm so for it. I'll tell him, what hospital do you want to go to right now?
What are your thoughts as a trans person on us removing gender from birth certificates?
At least for like IDs, I don't think it should be required to have sex on there, because that excludes non-binary people. That puts trans people in very uncomfortable positions, especially if they can't pass very well. I think it would be pretty helpful though, because I think that as a whole, society just needs to stop prioritizing the sex of their child as and then we'll have a baby boy forever. No, maybe she's trans, or maybe, your little girl is gonna grow up and you're gonna have to, have a son later.
I don't think it's necessarily a bad idea. I think it's, a baby's a baby at the end of the day, and so I mean, obviously the terms assigned female at birth and assigned male at birth can be harmful to just in general.
I think gender is a spectrum, definitely, and honestly, I think if we teach kids more about pronouns and what they want to go as, rather than, your girl, act like it, your boy, act like it, which I think that current birth certificates kind of enforce. I think it'd be a good idea.
You don't even really understand even your name, but until you're 3 or 4, and so to give something to this kid that they don't even understand and understand the concept of is kind of strange.
I know, of course, when they're born, they are assigned a gender, which I understand medically, but in the end, if they want to change, then they can. And that'll also change them medically as well. They don't have to assign themselves as, female or male. It should be whatever they want.
Yeah, I agree. They said it perfectly.
Hello everyone, this is Masako Ganaha. Look who I can interview today. Savanah Hernandez. I've been following her work, and she's very famous and courageous women journalist and reporter, political commentator. And I read your website about your introduction. And if you read the introduction, you are gonna be super fan. So thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you. I'm so excited to speak to the Japanese audiences.
And so I saw your website, and it was so passionate why you started this work. Please tell us what was the occasion?
Sure. So back in 2020, we had the Black Lives Matter movement happening in the United States of America, and we had our media telling us that it was a peaceful movement, but what I was seeing on the ground was very, very different. And I realized that in the United States and all across the world, really, we had a very big issue with dishonest reporting. We had an issue with our media spreading propaganda on behalf of our governments. And of course, this is not an issue that is central to the United States. This is something that we are all dealing with, which, is why we're here at the World Economic Forum. We have CNBC right behind us, in mainstream media from the United States, that is here on behalf of the World Economic Forum. We're not going to see any hard questions to the speakers here, to the panelists, any real questions regarding the policies that are being pushed here. So I wanted to bring real journalism back. I wanted to bring truth to the American people and highlight and show them what is happening on the ground in their country.
Mm-hmm. Recently you visited American border, and you show what is happening to your country. So it's very sad that for us Japanese, America we have been relying on, and we are great allies. But America I see struggling from within. So it's very important that what you do, not only for Americans but for us Japanese. Yes. So are you having fun here? How is your day today?
Masaka, I was telling you, it's so cold out here, but global warming, am I right? It's freezing out here. It's funny. I've been interviewing people on the street because I really do like getting the insight, to the attendees. What does everybody think here? And of course, the climate crisis has very much been at the forefront for them. I had one attendee telling me that there's no snow here in Switzerland this year, that, the climate crisis is very, very severe. So it's been interesting to see an insight into what they think here. But it's been good. It's been very interesting to be on the ground and, more importantly, to speak on behalf of Americans. A lot of Americans reject the World Economic Forum's infiltration of our government. A lot of Europeans also reject the World Economic Forum's, push of net zero energy policies that oftentimes will make energy prices rise. Sorry, my brain is freezing because I'm cold. Energy prices rise, food prices rise, so they're focused in on the cost of living crisis while simultaneously ignoring that a lot of the policies that they're pushing have directly related to this crisis.
I want to ask you the winter storm that happened in New York and Washington State. Like, whole house was frozen. Right?
Yeah, I mean, even in Texas 2 years ago, we had our own. It was called Snowmageddon. That's what we called it because there was so much snow in Texas, and our wind turbines actually froze. So there's just another example about how that form of energy was not very sustainable, and many, many people across Texas lost power.
Yeah, and it leads to many sad people's death.
Yes, exactly. I believe that more people have died worldwide from cold over heat. So, if we really do look at the statistics of some of these things, that is one of the very real realities of it.
Wow. And I've been following, you're working for this time, Turning Point USA?
Yes.
And then you also work for Rebel News too? Work with Rebel News?
I worked with Rebel News last year. I still saw them here, but I'm working with Turning Point this year.
I see. So what was the most important things that you think world should know for this year's World Economic Forum?
World Economic Forum, yes. Regarding what the panelists are talking about, we have the CEO of Moderna and Pfizer here in attendance. They're still perpetuating this idea that the pandemic is ongoing, that again, their products need to be utilized to push back against that pandemic. So we should be aware of, all of these things that are happening. We also have the push for misinformation, and that being a dangerous thing. We had the VP of the European Commission saying that illegal hate speech laws are going to be brought to the United States. This is not a good thing because this is just another example of the World Economic Forum trying to control our thoughts, trying to control our speech, trying to control our movement, right? By getting rid of private property, private vehicle usage. They're pushing electric vehicles on us. They're pushing different types of energies, windmills, solar panels, but they are simultaneously not using them themselves. We're seeing the gas vehicles being used. We saw that over 1,000 private jets were utilized last year to fly people into Davos. So the hypocrisy is palpable, of course, but more importantly, these ideas that they're pushing, when pushed on the public, do not make our lives better. In fact, they take away our rights, our freedoms, our national sovereignty, and that is the reality of what is happening here.
You see, it's so frightening to hear that what's happening in Europe, speech censorship is gonna come to America. Wow. I know that I use YouTube, but I don't like to use it. But many Japanese people don't realize it, and I try to go for Rumble.
Me too.
Please check our Rumble. But this awareness has not been spread enough in Japan. That's why I came here, and I'm so grateful to be able to meet you. And so please follow Savanah Hernandez. She's doing great work. And so you are doing independently, correct?
With Turning Point, they brought me, yes.
Okay.
Yes, so I'm reporting with them, but I did want to say to you as well, thank you for being here and showing the Japanese people what is going on. I'm here on behalf of the United States. We have Rebel News here representing Canada and Australia. I mean, these countries really have been the most impacted by those COVID lockdowns and protocols and policies. keep in mind that in Australia and in Canada, their leaders have direct ties to the World Economic Forum. Justin Trudeau was a young global leader, and he had some of the most dystopian punishments on his citizens when they pushed back against his COVID lockdown policies. So, look into that. That's a very real reality of people being tied to the WEF and coming down on their citizens when their citizens push back against their tyrannical lockdowns or things like that. So thank you for being here on behalf of the Japanese people.
Thank you so much. And as you can feel, we get courage from her. So on the ground, I get more courage from her so that I can be more progressive.
Thank you.
Aggressive to interviews. Thank you so much.
Thank you.